Hey dude. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Actually, I have been feeling a bit down recently.
How come?
I am a bit stuck these days. All my life I've had something to live for. Getting a fine education, starting a little family, making a career, kicking ass at the bowling alley, etc. Now that I have done all of that, I keep asking myself what's next. But I just don't have an answer.
I see.
My friends at work suggested to start running marathons, go on adventure trips, buy a Harley or connect with my spiritual side. I have a suspicion though that nothing of this will help me. There must be something more to life than this. There just has to be.
Actually, no, there isn't more to life than this. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean to discourage you. There is a solution to your problem, but it is not what you expect it to be.
All right, surprise me. I am all ears.
Well, let's have a look at what's actually bothering you. As you mentioned, the problem arose once there was the question, what's next? Right? So, instead of associating the problem with the lack of viable options to do things, let's assume for a minute that the very question itself is the problem.
Okay.
Why did the question arise in the first place? Where does it come from?
I don't know.
Here's my suggestion. The question simply shows that you are not entirely comfortable with being with your immediate experience of the present moment. For whatever reason that may be. Some people get bored, others feel guilty, or useless, or start worrying when they are just with themselves. What's important is that because they feel that way, they are trying to escape from these experiences by seeking more pleasurable ones. This is how we humans are biologically wired up. We are seeking happiness to escape suffering.
I understand, but how to resolve this? How to get comfortable with what is present now?
First of all, it is crucial to understand that this seeking is very tiresome mentally. It wears one out really badly over time. The stronger the resistance to the immediate experience, the stronger the pull to escape and seek. And the longer the resistance is upheld, the more it affects the psyche. This is ultimately the stuff depressions are made out of.
I hear you.
Now, let's get to the point of resolving this dilemma. It should be clear by now that there are fundamentally two ways to address it. Either we get rid of whatever conditioning makes us uncomfortable with just being with ourselves, or we learn to allow whatever experience to enter our consciousness without resisting it. The former is the way of psychotherapy, while the latter is the spiritual way of surrender. As long as you don't have major issues which require professional help, I suggest you try the second approach.
Interesting. But in what way is the second approach spiritual?
All spiritual paths ultimately lead to a surrendering to life. Jews are taught to unconditionally accept the laws of God. The root of the word Islam means surrender, and the symbol of Jesus Christ on the cross powerfully points in the same direction. In the Eastern spiritual traditions, an attitude of surrendering is brought about by the acknowledgement of suffering, of impermanence and interconnectedness or unity of all things. In realizing this, pain is not only seen as an inevitable part of human life, but as a completely legitimate manifestation of the one essence, which fundamentally is all that exists. Mentally struggling with uncomfortable experiences is then seen as a form of self-denial, which can only lead to unnecessary suffering. What all these traditions are saying is that while pain is inevitable, mental suffering is optional.
Okay, but how do I realize all this?
I can't talk about the realization in the Western traditions. Ask your rabbi, mullah or priest. The realization in the Eastern sense can happen anytime though. Whenever it is known that fundamentally there is no duality between an experiencer and the experience, there is the cessation of suffering attached to uncomfortable experiences. In the Eastern traditions, the experiencer is synonymous with the ego, because the notion of an experiencer can only arise when there is a mental decoupling from the experiencing, by accepting or rejecting a particular experience. When experience and the experiencer are known as one, what remains is just experiencing, which is none other than a form of complete surrendering to the immediacy of the moment.
But how do I get this realization?
Some people say that the realization, that there is no experiencer apart from the experience, can only come in a flash of insight that will happen unexpectedly out of the blue. Others will tell you that such a flash can be induced by paradoxical mind-blowing riddles, called koans. And again others will tell you that there is a specific path that can be followed. This latter group will advocate that you need to heal, and still your body, heart and mind first, before a realization of your essential nature can come about. Yoga, chanting, meditation and deeply inquiring who you truly are the most common techniques among this crowd. My advice is to follow your instincts and try out different things. Never forget, though, that nothing that is going to be said in these circles is to be taken literally. If people start dogmatizing, run. The map is not the territory. Good luck, pal.
Thanks, dude.